Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm Jumpy555, and today I'm talking about the latest episodes of Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, that being Chapter 5 Inquisition and Chapter 6 Night of the Hunted. Now, this review will contain spoilers, so if you want to avoid spoilers, I did release 2 shorts earlier today for each episode where I didn't go into spoilers. But let's get into those spoilers. So we're going to start with Chapter 5 Inquisition. So, we get to see now Janix being occupied by the Empire and things that are changing. An Imperial lieutenant by the name of Blake, who is a scumbag. Everything I've seen with him tells me he's a scumbag. And also an Inquisitor named Moura. You might remember him from Ahsoka. You might even figure out who he actually is, if that. But anyhow, what we do know is that they begin by interrogating Chief Kleiss. So, Lawson's boss with the Janix police force, or whatever they are called. And she's permanently reassigned. That does not sound good. Best case scenario, she's in prison. Lawson actually wanted to take the blame because he was the one who insisted on not calling in the Empire when they first identified Maul. But she also is the chief, and she says, nope, I'm in charge. And there's also Lawson's son Riley tries to contact his father, even shows up at the precinct, and Two Boots gets him out of there and basically says he's making sure he leaves because the Imperials don't like it. And I have a feeling Riley normally is allowed a lot more free reign at the precinct than the Empire is allowing. Just got that little bit of a hunch. But Riley goes to contact his mother. This is the first time besides an old picture, and yeah, we know she works for the Empire, and we already knew that, but you can definitely tell her advice to her son is basically cooperate with the Empire, which is a very Imperial mindset. There's actually not much of Maul in here. He's just kind of observing from the shadows as Devon and her master, Master Daki, are trying to escape, but they end up confronting stormtroopers, have a confrontation, and so they realize they're not getting out of the city. They got to find someplace to hide. So, well, Master Daki decides the best bet is to go to Lawson's apartment. The episode ends with Lawson arriving at his apartment after the Empire lets him go, because they do detain him temporarily to interrogate him. But he doesn't tell them about the Jedi, but he suspects that the Empire believes he's lying. But so that's actually that part is more revealed in Chapter 6. But yeah, he comes home and sees Jedi in his apartment. So yeah, so let's talk about Chapter 6, Night of the Hunted now. So Daki and Lawson talk. Go over the situation. And it's pretty clear that Lawson's not a big fan of the Empire, but his main goal is protecting his son. And he doesn't really want to harbor the Jedi. So that does make it sound like if the Jedi weren't there, if his son wasn't living on Coruscant with his mother, he might be more willing to help the Jedi, but he's thinking about his son. And during that conversation, Riley and Devon are sent away, mostly so that way Daki can talk to Lawson without Riley there. And we revealed that basically Lawson and his wife, ex-wife, former wife, basically, once she got a job with the Empire, drifted apart. And the thing is, Lawson, not a fan of the Empire. That's already been revealed. In Chapter 5, briefly talking with Two Boots, how it's more complicated than you realize. In this episode, where basically, as soon as the Empire is there, when Maul starts cutting open the door, because he follows Lawson for obvious reasons, because Lawson's instinct that they didn't fully believe him was correct, and Maul did actually go and know that somebody had a lightsaber duel where Maul and the Jedi confronted each other, and Maul confronted the police. Lawson had no problem pulling out his pistol and begin shooting right away. He had already met Maul, because Maul is who interrogated him. He had no hesitation whatsoever. Didn't try to throw Master Daki and Devon under the bus, nothing. He just started shooting. Yeah, he's complaining about it. No problem shooting right away. And doing that, trying to explain his son, the Empire isn't what he thinks it is. Lawson is clearly in this episode portrayed, he's not a fan of the Empire whatsoever. Part of it could be one, he knows he's in a situation there's no escaping, might as well go all in. But I suspect the thing is, he didn't need to convince himself. He didn't need convincing from Master Daki to start shooting. He just started shooting. He just needed convincing to help them because of his son. But once his son was slain by the Empire, he started shooting, no problem. And so they do get away. We get to see Devon's flying abilities. Apparently she's never flown an LAAT before. But she's probably flown something because she did a pretty good job despite Lawson's concerns. I suspect Lawson may know his way around one of those ships too, given him asking her, does she want him to take over? But anyhow, they eventually, at Lawson's suggestion, decide to go to Sol. So Lawson's informant that we saw earlier that he's maybe a bit closer to than a normal informant. And, well, the Empire shows up. One of the patrons, I think, tips them off. And Sol realizes it's all serious because Lawson brought his son. So, while Riley apparently knew of Sol, didn't really know who she was or anything and had never really met her and vice versa. So she knows something serious is going on. And while she goes to confront the Empire, basically try to be because she owns the casino, she wants to be the owner and go down and ask why they're there. They ignore her, by the way, and she starts fighting them instantly, which is exactly what Lawson predicted. He expected it to go bad. Partially because apparently before he joined the JNX police, apparently him and Sol traveled around a bit, and she was a bounty hunter, and they got into a scrape, and if it wasn't for each other, they would have not survived. So clearly they have a bit more of a past than they even learned, but definitely they had a past. A past that created a lot of trust between the two, where they were willing to do a lot to help each other out in tough situations. And so, of course, Sol fights the Empire, so they have to run and fight the Empire as well. And so they do get separated at this point. Master Daki and Lawson hold off the Empire while Devon and Riley take the hidden turbolift into the lower levels in order to get away. Unfortunately, Maul is down there, senses Devon, and confronts them on a train. But Maul is also there because he's been watching with his little droid and all that spying, and seeing them separated, he has this perfect opportunity to try to influence Devon once again. Because remember, he wants Devon to be his apprentice. Yeah, he saves Devon and Riley by extension. Not out of the goodness of his heart, despite whatever he's trying to get them to think. Mostly Devon to think. But it does happen, and they do confront Maul together. And they are able to not defeat Maul. I bet Maul probably could, but are able to separate themselves from Maul. Because Devon cuts a coupler on the train. Smart thinking there. Should have done that a lot sooner. Anyhow, there's another thing with all this, because Masaki and Lawson are now going to have to track them down, and they're going to find Maul, who Devon would say just saved them from Maul, who at the end of the episode goes back to the Star Destroyer and contacts his master to confirm Maul and the Jedi's presence. We don't see who his master is. It's probably Vader, but it could be the Grand Inquisitor as well. Or maybe even another Inquisitor he's been subordinated to. Given the fact that it's not being revealed, it's most likely Vader. I guess there is an off chance it could be Palpatine as well, but it's most likely Vader. So a lot does happen in these two episodes. Also too, just a few things to note. This seems to be set probably around the same time as the Bad Batch or shortly thereafter, because all the Imperial troopers are TK troopers and are still using clone trooper weaponry, are still, besides the Imperial Star Destroyer, they're still using LAATs and the Republic attack charger that we saw in the Bad Batch. So that kind of gives you a sense of the timeline. And of course, animation and all that is good. And I should mention too, while the Chief is being interrogated, Lawson nearly has a panic attack. And doing that, we hear his breathing. Nothing else is going on, just his breathing. And only two boots showing up with some calf is what snaps him out of it. And then he finds out that the chief had been permanently reassigned, which probably means either death or prison. So yeah, not a good thing. You can see why he doesn't like the Empire, and why in Chapter 6 he was so willing to just begin blasting without a kill. Like, in all honesty, he had no concern about starting blasting once he started blasting. He just went right for it. So yeah, very interesting stuff there. Very sets up some very interesting stuff, especially at the end of Chapter 6. But there's another scene too in Chapter 6. Obviously, Lawson's now on the run, and we get a scene back at the precinct, and where Two Boots is like, well, now that the Empire's giving us all these resources, Lawson should be happy, yada yada yada, actually being supportive. Not quite understanding Lawson's concerns, which basically Lawson does acknowledge in, I think it was in Chapter 5, basically telling Two Boots is, you just don't understand. Which is true, Two Boots doesn't. But something I can't believe I didn't notice to this episode, Two Boots is actually wearing boots. And in Chapter 6, he's talking with one of the other officers who we do see in a few other scenes in previous episodes talking about all this. And all of a sudden, wanted posters for Lawson pops up. And then the Empire, that Lieutenant Blake, tells Two Boots that his boots are not standard issue and to get rid of them. Earlier in one of my previous videos, I talked about how Two Boots seems human, seems sentient. I have a feeling, now that he's being told that he can't wear his boots, he might start understanding why Lawson was not a big fan of the Empire. And I wouldn't be surprised if that other officer, the only really human that we've seen the face of in the police force, the Genix police force, might also not be too happy about the Empire. I don't know why, that's my gut instinct. So yeah, a lot has happened and a lot is being set up. And Maul now has just maneuvered himself into a situation to manipulate Devon and show Maul to Devon to be trustworthy. Perfect manipulation. And I suspect Devon might fall for it. Even though she knows that she can't trust Maul, she might. Maybe, she might say, well, we're not allies, but we can have a truce. I have a feeling that might be the direction she's thinking of at this episode. Because in Chapter 5, while Devon and Daki were on the run, they have a conversation about Maul, about his influence and all that, and their concerns and all that. I have a feeling Daki is very much of, survive now, we can help in the future when things are better. And that might be true. But sadly, because of Maul's influence on Devon, because of the Empire situation going on, who knows if they'll ever get to that point. But these are just all my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.